We're getting a lot late start on this bitch, but we had a fucking sick ass setup, dog. Israel's gonna be the harder rock and roll once I'm done with this bitch. Really, all music. It'll be like because I'm doing this, the fucking capital of music will be in fucking Don Gush. Really? Fuck yeah, gushy gushy. All right, now I gotta read this bullshit. All right, how many days is it, Big Dog? Well, what is today? 27th of Shavat, 5786, Saturday, February 14th. Really, yeah, and we have a friend. Um, Baruch Dayan Ha'amet. That's for my friend's grandfather. And we don't know what the fuck he was, but he's cool in our hearts. So shout out to him. This is day 50, kids. I didn't think I'd be doing. I mean, I did. I know I'm. Look at me right now. I know I'm gonna do this for the rest of my fucking life. Really, every day, unless God forbid something happens. But God willing, I'm all about this shit. Really? Yeah. Okay. Zurus. I got 99 Zurusim, but a bitch ain't one. Lazon, Murex Trunculus, the bitch sounds like a Pokemon. Golas, that's the Jewish diaspora or exile. Chabad is Chokmah, wisdom, Bina, understanding, Da'at, knowledge. Gay, Kaken, Afanyam, Lek, Tis Dayan, go piss in the ocean. Alright, do the thing. May Hashem bless you and guard you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Alright. Akin ani medaber ivrit, bekar ivrit mikra'it af before anachnu hamurim ledaber Yiddish o ulai aramit shegam otan ani yakol ledaber bemida mesu yemet aval ani ma'adif anglit lakin bo'u nedaber anglit zenishma tov lecha. Okay. Alright, now do the fucking Hava Nagila, dude. Don't show me a fucking ad. Dude. What is this shit? Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Venismecha Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Venismecha Hava Ne Arnena Hava Ne Ranena Hava Ne Ranena Venismecha Hava Ne Ranena Hava Ne Ranena Hava Ne Ranena Venismecha Uru Achim Uruchim Uruzameach Uruchim Benesemeach Urachim Uzameach Urachim Benesemeach Urachim Benesemeach Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Venismecha Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Venismecha Hava Neranena Hava Neranena Hava Neranena Venismecha I like that. Weep at the end. That's sick. All right. Anything else? Oh, this is Kabbalah and Coffee, Coffee and Kabbalah. Everything sucks. Kabbalah sucks. Everything sucks. All right. Cool story, dog. Let's get back into the fucking the shit. All right. Jewish Kabbalists. Is there anything but Jewish Kabbalists? I'm sure somebody else got in their fucking nose in our shit. All right. Cool story, dog. Okay. Who is it? Rabinowitz. Really? You know any Rabinowitz? Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Gamliel HaKohen Rabinowitz, Rappaport, Hebrew, is a Rosh Yeshiva of Shar Hashamayim Yeshiva in Jerusalem, Israel. He is a recognized expert in Jewish law and Kabbalah. Family. Rabinowitz is the son of Rabbi Levi HaKohen Rabinowitz, 1920-2015, author of Medanoi Hashulchan and Medanoi Malakim, and grandson of Rabbi Gamliel Rabinowitz, a Rosh Yeshiva in Kishinev and Pasuk in the court of the Kork of Rebbe. Rabbi David Moshe Friedman. His family possesses rare documentation attesting to their status as Kohanim, tracing their ancestry back to the Shach. The family surname was originally Rappaport. The name was changed in response to a Russian government decree that conscripted all second sons for the Imperial Russian Army.
Yeah, let's see who they fucked. Well, that's not that long. That goes back to Shabbatai Ben Meyer, the coin. That's not that. I mean, that's cool, but that's not that.
He resides in the Zikron Moshe neighborhood of Jerusalem. Published works. References.
Make them applicable and sustainable in the real words. So you see someone like this, that if you want to disparage your Rabbanos, they're going to burn it when
Yashayahu Yosef Pinto, Hebrew, Arabic, born September 27, 1973, is an Israeli Moroccan Orthodox rabbi who leads a global organization called Mostat Shuva Israel, based in Ashdod and New York City. He is a Kabbalist. Globe's Business Journal named him in 2012 as one of the 10 wealthiest rabbis in Israel. As part of a series of legal issues, he pleaded guilty in September 2014 to bribing a high-ranking Israeli police officer. He was sentenced on May 12, 2015, to 1 year in prison and to pay a fine of 1 million shekels. He began serving his prison sentence on February 16, 2016. After his release, he became the chief rabbi of Morocco in 2019. As part of a series of legal issues, he pleaded guilty in September 2014 to bribing a high-ranking Israeli police officer. He was sentenced on May 12, 2015, to 1 year in prison and to pay a fine of 1 million shekels. He began serving his prison sentence on February 16, 2016. After his release, he became the chief rabbi of Morocco in 2019.
Not a bad gig.
Biography. Yashayahu Yosef Pinto was born in Israel to Moroccan parents. On his father's side, he is the great-grandson of Chaim Pinto, a Moroccan sage. On his mother's side, he is the great-grandson of Rabbi Yisrael Avihu Hatzira, also known as the Baba Sali. Pinto graduated from Ashkenazi Lithuanian yeshivas and studied under Ashkenazi and Hasidic rabbis. Pinto was also influenced by Sadmar Hasidism and its teachings. Pinto speaks Hebrew and does not know English. Around 2008, Pinto moved to New York City for medical treatments. He then spent time in New York City and Ashdod, where he ran the Shuva Israel Yeshiva. After his release from prison in 2017, he settled in Morocco. Rabbinic career. Pinto is a rabbi and religious leader. Prior to extensive legal issues, he had a following as a spiritual leader and is a Kabbalist. He is said to be the descendant of rabbinical.
Dog, I'm just telling you right now, this Pinto cat, you can hear me now. You sound pretty corrupt, dog. I mean, you may be wealthy, but you sound pretty fucking corrupt. Why? He bribed this guy in 2015. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison. I mean, I don't know. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but
Yashayahu Yosef Pinto was born in Israel to Moroccan parents. On his father's side,
I'm
he is the great-grandson of
unimpressed.
Chaim Pinto, a Moroccan sage. On his mother's side, he is the great-grandson of Rabbi Yisrael Avihu Hatzira, also known as the Baba Sali. Pinto graduated from Ashkenazi Lithuanian yeshivas and studied under Ashkenazi and Hasidic rabbis. Pinto was also influenced by Satmar Hasidism and its teachings. Pinto speaks Hebrew and does not know English. Around 2008, Pinto moved to New York City for medical treatments. He then spent time in New York City and
I misspoke. 2008. I was thinking it was another. Hold on. I mean, you're still pretty sounding like not that much of a mensch. Oh, we didn't do that. We had to do that.
Where he ran the Shuva Israel Yeshiva. After his release from prison in 2017, he settled in Morocco. Rabbinic career. Pinto is a rabbi and religious leader. Prior to extensive legal issues, he had a following as a spiritual leader and is a Kabbalist. He is said to be the descendant of rabbinical dynasties that reportedly have the potential to work miracles. Pinto has many followers from the Israeli expatriate community in the U.S. and has been described as a rabbi to the rich and famous. When he was in his 20s, Pinto founded Shuva Israel, a yeshiva in Ashdod, Israel. As founder, he oversees an organization that includes 2 yeshivas in Ashkelon, 1 in Kiryat Malachi, 3 in Ashdod, and 1 in Rishon LeZion, with a total of 500 students to be rabbinical students in training. The organization also has 2 schools for girls in Ashdod and a training school in Ashkelon. One of the Israeli locations provides money for living expenses to 180 widowed women. Several yeshivas or religious schools located in the United States and Israel and sponsors a charitable organization that provides food for Israeli families in need. Pinto's Center in Ashdod has 4 synagogues that serve more than 1,200 worshippers, a yeshiva with over 300 full-time students, and a soup kitchen that provides 3,000 meals a day. Pinto has also established a network of yeshivas in Israel, Los Angeles, Miami, and New York in the U.S. In October 2010, Pinto led thousands to Silistra in Bulgaria for an annual pilgrimage in homage of Eliezer Papo. During his stay in Bulgaria, Pinto held a meeting with 80 Jewish American businessmen, asking them to invest $5 billion in the Israeli economy. In April 2019, Rabbi Yashiyahu Yosef Pinto was appointed and officially installed as the chief rabbi of Morocco, becoming the first person to hold this position in modern times. The ceremony, held in Casablanca with senior government officials and Jewish community leaders in attendance, was conducted with the blessing of King Mohammed VI. Pinto,
I know
a descendant of
future
Haim Pinto of Essaouira who had been
chief
residing in
rabbi
Morocco
of
since 2017,
Morocco. Oh,
was
really?
tasked with
Yeah.
providing
Oh,
spiritual
he's
leadership to the country's
fucking
Jewish community and overseeing matters of
less
religious life and
corrupt than
heritage
your
preservation.
ass.
In March 2020, Pinto called upon the Jews of Morocco and the global Jewish community to comply with governmental regulations intended to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, in response to reports of Orthodox Jewish Haredi communities around the world defying restrictions on their traditional lifestyle.
Yeah, shut up
In
to
November
the
2025,
traditional
Pinto met
lifestyle,
with the
baby.
American rapper Kanye West, who had faced widespread criticism in the preceding years for expressing anti-Semitic views. West expressed remorse for his views, which he blamed on his struggles with bipolar disorder. Pinto forgave West and praised him for taking steps towards accountability.
Okay.
Business career. Pinto has extensive connections in the real estate community in New York, including an executive with Metropolitan Real Estate Investors and one with Elon Bracha of Prudential Douglas Elliman. His followers include Jay Schottenstein, chairman of the American Eagle Outfitters Clothing Company, and real estate mogul Jackie Ben-Zaken. Pinto has been characterized as something between a guru and a Hasidic Rebbe and is a mystically inclined Kabbalist with an interest in the esoteric elements of the Jewish tradition. Although Pinto has no formal business background, a number of prominent Israeli and Jewish American businessmen have visited him for consultation, including talk show host Donnie Deutsch, jeweler Jacob Irabo, Jacob the Jeweler, former Congressman Anthony Weiner. Prominent non-Jews who have consulted with Pinto include New York City politician Michael Grimm and basketball player LeBron James. Pinto has said that he does not consider his help to be advice, saying instead that it's more of a blessing. Politicians and businessmen who have visited Pinto in Israel include Justice Minister Yaakov Neiman, former Bank of Israel Governor Jacob Frenkel, and Israeli soccer star Guy Levy. Because of Pinto's influence, he has been called a rabbi to the business stars, and was described by Yoel Hassan, a Kadima member of the Knesset, as having connections and influence with a number of people in Israeli politics. According to an article in the Globe's Business Journal, in June 2012, Forbes Israel named Pinto as one of the 10 wealthiest rabbis in Israel, with a fortune of NIS 75 million based on organizational holdings such as charitable activities and properties.
I think I'm one person removed from this
In September
motherfucker.
2011, Pinto's father-in-law, the chief rabbi of Argentina, Shlomo Ben Hamo, retracted accusations of money laundering against Pinto in the Jerusalem District Court. The father-in-law said the retraction was part of an arrangement made for legal reasons and to preserve domestic tranquility. Under the terms of the agreement, Pinto was required to pay NIS 3.4 million for 2 apartments purchased by his father-in-law in the Gold Housing Complex in Jerusalem, with funds that were allegedly obtained from Pinto.
Dogs. This
On
guy's
October 12,
corrupt.
2012, Pinto was reported to be under investigation for money laundering. He was released on bail and placed under house arrest for a bribery attempt of an Israeli police official involved in the investigation. On September 17, 2014, Pinto was indicted on charges of attempting to bribe Ephraim Bracha of the Israeli National Police in an attempt to gain information about the ongoing investigation of the financial activities of Hazan Yeshaya, a charitable organization Pinto heads. Bracha had reported the bribery attempt to his superior, Major General Yoav Segalovich, and was ordered by Segalovich to pretend to accept the bribe. In February 2015, the Supreme Court upheld Pinto's plea agreement under which he would serve a maximum of 1 year in jail and become a state witness. He
1
returned to
year,
Israel
that's
on
it?
April 14 and pleaded guilty the next day to bribing Bracha. Judge Odette Mudrick found him guilty of bribery, attempted bribery, and obstruction of justice. Bracha, who was cleared of any wrongdoing, committed suicide on July 5, 2015 after being subjected to a prolonged campaign of defamation. Pinto was sentenced on May 12,
This sounds
2015
suspicious.
to 1 year in prison and must pay a fine of 1 million shekels. Appeals of the prison sentence on the basis of ill health were
Nothing.
declined on January 5 and February 8, 2016. He arrived at prison on February 16, 2016, after a brief stay in an Israeli hospital to check on and treat his medical conditions, including cancer. On August 3, President Reuven Rivlin rejected Pinto's appeal for clemency. His appeal for early release due to ill health, initially granted on September 19, was later overturned by the Law District Court on September 26. He was released from prison on January 25, 2017, upon completion of his sentence. References.
Doug, this guy's corrupt as fuck. Really? Yeah. What would you tell him? I know this motherfucker. Cut back on carbs. That's what I tell him, motherfucker. What else would you tell him? I'm better than you. Really? Oh, yeah. You think that's corruption?
Yitzchak H. Meir Morgenstern, Hebrew, born December 10, 1966, is an Israeli Hasidic rabbi and Kabbalist. Biography. Morgenstern was born to Yaakov Menachem and Yachit Sima Morgenstern, Ger Hasidim, in the Hendon neighborhood of London. He studied at the Lucerne and Gateshead yeshivas while simultaneously learning Kabbalah and Hasidism. He married the daughter of Rabbi Yosef Lubinsky of Antwerp, known as the Rebbe of Chechen, and lived in Antwerp and Jerusalem after his marriage. He studied under Rabbi Nisan David Kivik and was connected to Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch Rosenbaum, the Rebbe of Krechniv and Rabbi Yaakov Lezer, the Rebbe of Peshvorsk. He also studied Kabbalah with Rabbi Yitzchak Kadari and Rabbi David Batzri, and with Rabbi Eliezer Tzvi Safran of Kamarna, currently the Rebbe of Kamarna in Beit Shemesh. Around 1995, he began holding Suda Shlishet at the Satmar Beis Medrash in the Ezra Torah neighborhood, attended by Breslov Hasidim. In 1997, he opened a small kollel in the Mecker Baruch neighborhood, called Elima. In 2002, he opened a Beis Medrash named Torah Chacham on Halei Yosef Street in the Jivot Moshe neighborhood, named after the book by Rabbi Haim de la Raza. The Beis Medrash includes a midnight kollel, a morning kollel for halakhic studies, and an afternoon kollel for Kabbalah studies. Over the years, a Hasidic community has formed around him. He receives Kvitlach and is referred to as a Rebbe, though he emphasizes that he is a Breslov Hasid. Among his followers are Mordecai Ben David and Barry Weber.
Akiva said, better for me to kill myself. That wasn't what he meant. Is better for me that I shouldn't have something to drink. I shouldn't have something to drink.
Morgenstern combines the teachings of Breslov with the Kabbalah of the Arizal and his successors. He delivers daily classes on the Zohar, Lakutei Moharan, Daf Yomi, and Kabbalah. Additionally, he gives other classes on Halacha and Hasidism. During Suda Shlishet, he holds a tish where he delivers Torah teachings for about an hour or more on the weekly Torah portion and current topics, concluding with a new interpretation of the phrase Dah Chachul Nafsha Chaviti Keter Larashcha from the hymn Dror Yikra. His teachings from Suda Shlishet are printed in a weekly booklet called Dah Chachul Nafsha. On Friday night, he does not hold a tish but delivers Torah teachings at his home before his followers during the meal. These teachings, along with other Torah teachings given during the week, are printed in a booklet called Neshmat in Chadadin, distributed weekly via email and in limited print. For years, he traveled to Uman for Rosh Hashanah with hundreds of followers from Israel, England, and the United States, who joined his minyan there. The prayers in this minyan lasted from sunrise to sunset. The shofar blowing took about 2 hours due to Morgenstern's Kabbalistic intentions. Before Rosh Hashanah 2012, Morgenstern traveled to Uman but decided to return to Israel before the holiday. He published a pamphlet stating that those connected to Exotic in Israel could stay in Israel for Rosh Hashanah. He also wrote an essay on this topic for his group called V'himat V'Hasalam Evavu. Some of the prayers that year were held at the tomb of David, which he has shown interest in recent years. However, for Rosh Hashanah 2013, he was again in Uman. In subsequent years, he remained in Jerusalem, sometimes traveling to Uman on the eve of Rosh Hashanah and returning to Israel for the holiday. His books have received endorsements from Rabbi Moshe Halberstam, Rabbi Yechiel Fischel Eisenbach, Rabbi Dov Weiss, and others. Family. His eldest son, Yisrael, married the daughter of Rabbi Pinchas Moshe Tal, the Rebbe of Kosmir, in 2014. His second son, Yaakov Menachem, married the daughter of Rabbi Yehuda Levi Ashlag, the Rebbe of Ashlag, in 2023. Teachings. Kabbalah. Morgenstern bases his Kabbalistic approach on the teachings of Rabbi Haim de la Raza. This approach often interprets things non-literally and frequently uses the principle of Erechin, values, which posits that there are several systems of relation for everything. This reconciles contradictions between sources, which, according to this approach, deal with different systems. Accordingly, Morgenstern states that all disputes in Judaism are only from an external perspective, not from the inner truth. His teachings incorporate elements from the Rashash and his students, Chabad, the Ramchal, Breslov, Kamarna, Zidichov, Rabbi Aharon of Stirashalai, the Vilna Gaon and his students, and Rabbi Ashlag. For example, he claims there is no dispute on the concept of tzimtzum, contraction between Hasidism and the Vilna Gaon, and both agree with the Hasidic approach. Similarly, he believes that revealed Torah and Halacha align with the Torah of secrets. Morgenstern often explains the reasons for halakhic disputes based on the soul roots of the opinion holders. Morgenstern has developed meditation methods based on Kabbalistic sources, summarized mainly in the Derech Hayachiv section of the Yam HaChachma collection. Despite the theological complexity of Kabbalah, he believes it must align with the simple faith common among the Jewish people, even though some Kabbalists think otherwise. However, he holds that those who err in these matters are not considered heretics. Morgenstern opposes the critical approach of Yosef Adavi and Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel, who believe that parts of the writings of the Arizal are innovations of Rabbi Haim Vital himself and not what he received from his teacher. Morgenstern believes that everything written in the Arizal's writings is from him unless explicitly stated otherwise. He stands out among the Kabbalists following the Rashash's path by instructing to direct prayer intentions even during times like the days of the Omer counting and the days between Rosh Hashanah and Shemini Atzeret, unlike the custom of Begal and most of the Rashash's students, relying on the Torah Chacham. Halacha. Although he does not formally rule on Halacha and usually refers questioners to recognized authorities, he engages in halakhic inquiries published in the Yam HaChachma and Neshmat in Chadadin collections. He tends to pray at very late hours, relying on unique opinions regarding the times of day for prayer, noon, sunset, and nightfall, following the approach of the Maharshal. Regarding twilight, he follows the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam and believes this was also the view of the Arizal. He heavily relies on the Torah of secrets in his rulings, believing it does not contradict the principle that the Torah is not in heaven. Morgenstern wrote a response on renewing the mitzvah of Techlit, rejecting the status of the commonly used Techlit dye from the Murex trunculus snail, arguing that this snail does not fit the signs given by the sages. He prefers the Janthina snail proposed by Rabbi Herzog. However, he wears the commonly used Techlit since his preferred type is not available. He prohibits the one-brain method, a type of applied kinesiology where questions are asked, and answers are received through muscle testing, considering it a form of sorcery. The Rebbe of Amshinab, who permits the method, remarked that of all those who oppose his view, Morgenstern is the only one who shows the prohibition side. Morgenstern has tried to influence rabbis to issue a prohibitive ruling on this matter. Before Passover 2019, he expressed support for offering the Passover sacrifice and asked his students to register for a lamb for the sacrifice. References.
Yeah, dog, don't apply kinesiology. I'm not for that. That's not. I think that's socially as well. We're in agreement, dog.
From my beloved, let's go out into the field. So let's say, remember again, this concept is from
Abraham Mordecai Gottlieb, Hebrew, is an Israeli rabbi, self-help guide, and rebbe and leader of the Ashlag communities in Tel Stone and Tel Aviv. He has compiled dozens of books on Kabbalah and self-help. He teaches in the methods of Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag and Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag. Biography. Gottlieb was born and raised in Bnei Brak. From a young age, he learned from Rabbi Binyamin Shlomo Ashlag, one of the Ashlag Rebbeim. After fleeing his abusive household at the age of 9, Gottlieb became semi-homeless for a period. From the age of 14, he began to learn with Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag, the eldest son of Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag, as one of his youngest students. After 14 years of learning with Rabbi Ashlag, he went on to study in Yeshivat Beit Meir from Rabbi Zalman Rothberg. Already from a young age, with approval from Rav Ashlag, Rabbi Gottlieb began to teach married students in the ways of Kabbalah. Gottlieb would go on to become Rav Ashlag's personal assistant. In 1993, Rabbi Gottlieb left Bnei Brak to settle in Tel Stone. A short time after that, he established the community Birkat Shalom where he continues to lecture on Ashlag and Kabbalah. Teachings. Gottlieb, like Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag, teaches Kabbalah according to the method of Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag. Ashlag's Kabbalistic method involves thorough textual analysis, similar to methods of Talmud study. In Rabbi Gottlieb's editions of the works of Isaac Luria, the commentaries of Rabbi Yehuda and Baruch Ashlag are utilized in a similar manner to the Rashi and Tosafot commentaries on the Talmud. This method garnered support from Rabbi Yitzhak Kadari. Rabbi Gottlieb's method of studying Kabbalah is to study the spiritual world from the perspective of the human world. This is in contrast to the Sephardic method, mainly perpetuated by the students of Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, who study Kabbalah in the abstract. This method is primarily focused on transforming an individual from the desire to receive to the desire to give. His views on various social issues are characterized by a marked social progressivism within a Haredi cultural context. Most distinct in this is Gottlieb's feminist approach, where he believes women should be an integral part of public action, rigorous Torah study and self-employment, should they choose to be. In regards to the LGBT plus community, and other minorities living in Israel, Gottlieb advocates for a broader tolerance of these communities by the Israeli public. Gottlieb is a strong critic of the Israeli government's handling of the climate crisis and of the meat industry, and has advocated a reduction in the use of disposable plastics. Social advocacy. As part of his efforts to promote social cohesion in Israeli society, Gottlieb lectures in institutions belonging to all sectors. He has done so at the Van Leer Institute and Bar Ilan University, as well as various Stadi and Haredi Yeshiva. Gottlieb has met with and taught multiple public figures in Israel, including Dr. Avijay Mandelblit, Tehillah Friedman, Irid Manigor, the philosopher Dr. Avraham Elkayim, Dr. Boaz Haas, and others. He has stayed in the house of Avri Gilad. In August 2021, Gottlieb attended a lesbian wedding and blessed the couple. The outcry from
Yes, ma'am.
He's
All right, Mr. Aquarius, how you doing?
gone. He passed away.
I know. How are you?
Yes, sir. I'm hoping. Maybe I'm doing okay.
You
He's
said,
gone though. They took him. They went home, took him and stuff. The nurse said he passed away. Technically, he passed away at 3:40. I guess that's what he was doing. Yeah, my uncle had came up here. And they was going to give him some more medicine. My auntie was going to my auntie told my uncle, no, that's it. We shouldn't give him no more. So my uncle touched him or whatever. And he was cold.
well, Mr. Aquarius, you had a wonderful life.
Yeah, he passed. I got a phone call. I'll be right back.
You take care of you.
And I'll
Certainly.
be,
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to keep an ear out for her.
From members of the Orthodox Public League Gottlieb to take a temporary hiatus from his rabbinic duties. Gottlieb clarified that whilst he did not agree with same-sex marriage on a halakhic basis, he is happy to bless anyone who requests blessings off of him. Gottlieb continues to welcome LGBT plus individuals to his congregation, and criticizes Orthodox groups that shun them. Gottlieb advocates for broader acceptance of Israeli Arabs and Palestinians in Israeli society, and has criticized discrimination against Israel's Arab Christian community. Gottlieb opposes preventing public transportation on Shabbat. Published works. References.
Damn, this guy's pretty liberal.
We also thank Howard and Aileen Friedman for dedicating the shir this morning in memory of Howard's father, Shalom Ben Hillel Tzvi. We hope that in American Art Commentator open Shalom and the family.
Aden Even Israel Steam Salts, Hebrew, July 11, 1937, August 7, 2020, was an Israeli Chabad rabbi, teacher, philosopher, social critic, author, translator, and publisher. Steam Salts originally published the Talmud, the Steam Salts edition in modern Hebrew, with a running commentary to facilitate learning. It was subsequently translated into English, French, Russian, and Spanish. Beginning in 1989, Steam Salts published several tractates in Hebrew and English of the Babylonian Bavli Talmud in an English-Hebrew edition. The first volume of a new English-Hebrew edition, the Koran Talmud Bavli, was released in May 2012, and has since been brought to completion.
Oh,
Steam
we
Salts
have
was a
that.
recipient of the Israel Prize for Jewish Studies, 1988, the President's Medal, 2012, and the Yakir Yerushalayim Prize, 2017. Steam Salts died in Jerusalem on August 7, 2020, from acute pneumonia. Biography. Aden Steam Salts was born in Jerusalem on July 11, 1937, to Avraham Steam Salts and Leah N.E. Krakovitz. His father was a great-grandson of the first Slonheimer Rebbe, Avraham Weinberg, and was a student of Hillel Zeitlin. Avraham and Leah Steam Salts met through Zeitlin. They immigrated to Mandatory Palestine in 1924. Avraham Steam Salts, a devoted communist and member of Lehi, went to Spain in 1936 to fight with the international brigades in the Spanish Civil War. Aden was born the following year. Steen Saltz became a Baal Teshuvah during his teenage years, encouraged by Rabbi Shmuel Elazar Dielgren, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Torah Chabad, while studying mathematics, physics, and chemistry at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He also pursued rabbinical studies at Yeshivas Tamshei Temimim in Lod and studied with Dr. Eliezer and Shirayahu Noach Sassenkin. After graduation, he established several experimental schools following an unsuccessful attempt to establish a neo-Hasidic community in the Negev. At the age of 24, he became Israel's youngest school principal. In 1965, he founded the Israel Institute for Talmudic Publications and began his work on the Talmud, including translation into Hebrew, English, Russian, and other languages. The Steen Saltz editions of the Talmud include translation from the original Aramaic and a comprehensive commentary. Steen Saltz completed his Hebrew edition of the Babylonian Talmud in November 2010, and Koren Publishers Jerusalem became his publisher. While not without criticism, such as by Jacob Neusner in 1998, the Steen Saltz edition is widely used throughout Israel, the United States, and the world. Steen Saltz's classic work on Kabbalah, The 13-Petaled Rose, was first published in 1980 and now appears in 8 languages. In all, Steen Saltz authored some 60 books and hundreds of articles on subjects including Talmud, Jewish mysticism, Jewish philosophy, sociology, historical biography, and philosophy. Many of these works were translated into English by his close friend, Yehuda Hanekbi. His memoir biography on the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, was published by Maggid Books, 2014. Continuing his work as a teacher and spiritual mentor, Steen Saltz joined the original faculty of the non-denominational Pardes Institute of Jewish Studies in Jerusalem in 1972, along with David Hartman, Eliezer Shweig, Menachem Froman, Dov Berkovitz, and others. He established Yeshivat Maker Chaim alongside rabbis Menachem Froman and Shimon Gershon Rosenberg in 1984 and Yeshivat Tekoa in 1999. He also served as president of the Shefa Middle and High Schools. He has served as scholar in residence at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington, D.C., and the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. His honorary degrees include doctorates from Yeshiva University, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, Bar-Ilan University, Brandeis University, and Florida International University. Steen Saltz was also Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Hester Tekoa. Being a follower of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson of Chabad, he went to help Jews in the Soviet Union assisting Shabbat Shluchim, Emissaries, Network. In 1995, the chief rabbi of Russia, Adolf Sheyevich, gave Steen Saltz the title of Duchovny Rabbin, spiritual rabbi, a historic Russian title that indicated that he was the spiritual mentor of Russian Jewry. In this capacity, Steen Saltz traveled to Russia and the Soviet Union once each month from his home in Jerusalem. During his time in the former Soviet Union, he founded the Jewish University, both in Moscow and St. Petersburg. The Jewish University is the first degree-granting institution of Jewish studies in the former Soviet Union. In 1991, on Schneerson's advice, he changed his family name from Steen Saltz to Even Israel.
We did
Stone
learn
Israel
about
in
this
English.
guy
Schneerson
yesterday.
suggested the name Even Melach, Salt Stone in English, as recorded in his meeting with the Rebbe in 1990. Besides Chabad, Steen Saltz was also inspired by the teachings of Menachem Mendel of Kotz. He was in close contact with the fifth Cherah Rebbe, Yisrael Alter, and his brother and successor, Simcha Bunim Alter. Steen Saltz took a cautious approach to interfaith dialogue. During a visit of a delegation of Roman Catholic cardinals in Manhattan in January 2004, he said that, "You do not have to raise over expectations of a meeting, as it doesn't signify in itself a breakthrough. However, the opportunity for cardinals and rabbis to speak face to face is valuable. It's part of the process in which we can talk to each other in a friendly way, and called for a theological dialogue that asks the tough questions, such as whether Catholicism allows for Jews to enter eternal paradise." Steen Saltz and his wife lived in Jerusalem until his death and had 3 children and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. In 2016, Steen Saltz suffered a stroke, leaving him unable to speak. His son, Rabbi Menachem, meaning Even Israel, is the executive director of the Steen Saltz Center. Steen Saltz's umbrella organization located in the Naklayot neighborhood of Jerusalem. Steen Saltz died in Jerusalem on August 7, 2020, from acute pneumonia at the Shart Tzedek Medical Center. He was hospitalized earlier in the week with a severe lung infection. His wife Sarah survived him, together with 3 children and 18 grandchildren. As an author, Steen Saltz was a prolific author and commentator who wrote numerous books on Jewish knowledge, tradition and culture, and produced original commentaries on a huge portion of the Jewish canon, Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, the Babylonian Talmud, the Mishnah, the Mishneh Torah, Tanya, and Torah or Likutei Torah. His published works include: as a speaker, Steen Saltz was invited to speak at the Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies at Yale University in 1979. Prior to his stroke, he gave evening seminars in Jerusalem, which, according to Newsweek, usually lasted until 2 o'clock in the morning and attracted prominent politicians, such as the former Prime Minister Levi Eshkol and former Finance Minister Pinchas Sapir. Awards and critical reception. On April 21, 1988, Steen Saltz received the Israel Prize for Jewish Studies. On February 9, 2012, Steen Saltz was honored by Israeli President Shimon Peres with Israel's first President's Prize alongside Zubin Mehta, Yuri Slonim, Henry Kissinger, Judy Felkar, and the Rashi Foundation. Steen Saltz was presented with this award for his contribution to the study of Talmud, making it more accessible to Jews worldwide. Steen Saltz was also presented with the 2012 National Jewish Book Award in the category of Modern Jewish Thought and Experience by the Jewish Book Council for his commentary, translation, and notes in the Koran Babylonian Talmud. The Modern Jewish Thought and Experience Award was awarded on January 15, 2013, in memory of Joy Ungerleider Meyerson by the Doric Foundation. On May 22, 2017, Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat visited Steen Saltz at his home to present him with the Yakir Yerushalayim, Worthy Citizen of Jerusalem, medal. This medal of achievement was awarded to Steen Saltz for his writing and translating work. On June 10, 2018, Steen Saltz was honored at a gala dinner at the Orient Hotel in Jerusalem for his pedagogical achievements throughout a lifetime dedicated to Jewish education. A limited edition version of the Steen Saltz Humash was presented to the attendees of this event. Public reception. Academic criticism. Jacob Neusner published an attack on the reference guide in 1998, strongly disagreeing with several claims in the guide. In what was an overall favorable review, Dr. Jeremy Brown notes that the Koran Talmud Bavli contains some inaccurate scientific information, such as identifying Ursa major as a star and describing polycythemia vera as a disease causing excessive bleeding from the gums and from ordinary cuts. Aharon Feldman penned a lengthy critical review of the Steen Saltz Talmud contending that the work is marked by an extraordinary number of inaccuracies stemming primarily from misreadings of the sources. It fails to explain those difficult passages which the reader would expect it to explain, and it confuses him with notes which are often irrelevant, incomprehensible, and contradictory. Feldman says he fears that an intelligent student utilizing the Steen Saltz Talmud as his personal instructor might in fact conclude that
The
Talmud in general is not
Koran
supposed to make
version
sense.
has pictures. That's
Furthermore,
why it
writes
wins
Feldman,
out.
the Steen Saltz Talmud gives off the impression that the Talmud is intellectually flaky, inconsistent, and often trivial. Reading reaction
Yeah.
and ban. Publication of the Steensalt's Hebrew translation of the Talmud in the 1960s received endorsements from prominent rabbis including Moshe Feinstein and Ovadia Yosef. However, in 1989, when the English version appeared, Steensaltz faced a fierce backlash from many leading rabbis in Israel such as Harav Elazar Shach, Harav Yosef Shalom Eliashib, Harav Eliezer Waldenberg, Harav Nassim Karelitz, Harav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, and Harav Shmuel Wasner, who harshly condemned his work and other publications, branding him a heretic. Rav Shach was at the forefront of a campaign which banned all his works, believing that his literary and psychological explanations of biblical characters and events rendered them heretical. He also slated his translation of the Talmud, describing it as being written in the style of a secular book causing any trace of holiness and faith to vanish. Waldenberg wrote that he was shocked to see the way in which Steensaltz described the patriarchs and Talmudic sages, writing that the works had the power to poison the souls of those who read them, striking a more conciliatory tone in the controversy. However, were the Jerer Hasidim who praised his works and commended him on his willingness to amend various passages which could have been misconstrued. After the Jerusalem-based Editorialists limited the ban to 3 books, Steensaltz publicly apologized for his error and offered to refund anyone who had bought the books. The ban nevertheless caused thousands of schools and individuals to discard the Steensaltz Talmud, with Rabbi Avigdor Nebenzahl ordering all copies to be placed in Genesah. This led to more liberal Jewish movements placing adverts in the press asking for the edition to be donated to their institutions instead. For his part, Steensaltz countered that much of the criticism he faced was rooted in opposition to the Chabad Lubavitch community with which he was affiliated. Praise. While certain members of the Haredi community may have opposition to Steensaltz's works, other Jewish leaders, rabbis, and authors have spoken or written about their appreciation for Steensaltz's unique educational approach. Rabbi John Rossov of Temple Israel of Hollywood featured Opening the Tanya, Learning the Tanya, and Understanding the Tanya on his list of the top 10 recommended Jewish books. These volumes are written by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, and include commentary by Steensaltz. Through reading the Tanya, readers can explore all aspects of the central text of the Chabad movement. Rabbi Ali Konfer, a Rosh Yeshiva and the CEO of Mecca Hadar Yeshiva, discussed his gratitude for Steensaltz's Global Day of Jewish Learning and the opportunity created by this online platform for learning and creating a deeper connection to Torah, other Jewish texts, and Jews worldwide. Rabbi Pinchas Alash, who studied under Steensaltz, notes that Steensaltz is a world scholar who revolutionized the Jewish landscape through his commentary, other writings, and educational organizations. In 1988, secular Israeli historian Ziv Katz compared Steensaltz's importance to that of Rashi and Maimonides, 2 Jewish scholars of medieval times. In addition, Ilana Kirshen, an American-Israeli author, wrote that Steensaltz's ability to bring the historical world of the Talmudic stages to life created an enjoyable Jewish learning experience for her when she was intensely studying Talmud. See also.
Oh yeah, he's on there twice. Get your shit together. Look at this. You see him on there twice. I don't know why it's fucking on there twice, but I know he doesn't know where the fuck that Ursa Major is a fucking constellation, not a single star. Are you gonna have your own version? Maybe. I'll have everything.
Yitzchak Fedish Ginsburg, Hebrew, born November 14, 1944, sometimes referred to as the Malak Lid, the Angel, is an American-born Israeli rabbi affiliated with the Chabad movement. In 1996, he was regarded as one of Chabad's leading authorities on Jewish mysticism. He is the leader of the Derech Hayim, the Way of Life movement, and founder of the Galine Institute, which publishes his written works. His students include Sheridan, ultra-Orthodoxes, religious Zionists, and Chabad Hasidim, as well as Balai Teshuvah, penitents. He is currently the president of a number of educational institutions, including the Ad Yosef Chai, Joseph Still Lives Yeshiva in the settlement of Yitzhar in the West Bank. Ginsburg has lectured in various countries and throughout Israel. His teachings cover subjects including science, psychology, marital harmony, and monarchy in Israel. He has published over 100 books in Hebrew and English, most of which are edited by his students. Ginsburg is a musician and composer. Some of his music has been performed by Israeli musicians. His students include Torah scholars, academics, and musicians. Some of his statements regarding the differences between Jews and non-Jews have aroused controversy. Ginsburg and his students have responded to the controversy by saying that his views of concepts taken from Chassidut and Kabbalah are far removed from the language that the media has adopted. Biography. Early life. Ginsburg was born in St. Louis, Missouri, in 1944, the only child of Shimshon Yaakov and Brina Malka, Niduni. Ginsburg. He was considered a child prodigy in music and mathematics. Both of his grandfathers were Chabad Hasidim. His parents had a great affinity to their Jewish roots and a love of the land of Israel. His father immigrated to Israel as a young man, where he was one of the founders of the city of Renana, but returned to the USA to complete his higher education. His return to Israel was delayed when the Second World War broke out and he remained in the USA, where he married Ginsburg's mother. His father held a PhD in education and served as principal of a number of Jewish schools. The family later moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where Ginsburg grew up until the age of 14, when his parents spent a year in Israel while his father wrote his doctorate on teaching the Hebrew language. During their year in Israel, the young Ginsburg studied at the Hebrew Gymnasium in Rechavia, where he learned Hebrew and began his path to Torah study by reading Ethics of the Fathers, which left a great impression upon him. Upon their return to Philadelphia, he met the Rebbe of the Navdorna Hasidic dynasty, Rabbi Meir Isaacson, author of the Mevisert.
What is this about gymnasium? They call the fucking high school a gymnasium? First and country, Jerusalem's first and country second. High school or gymnasium? What the fuck is a gymnasium school? Secondary school that prepares students for higher education university. It's a prep high school, British grammar school. Oh, okay.
During their year in Israel, the young Ginsburg studied at the Hebrew Gymnasium in Rechavia, where he learned Hebrew and began his path to Torah study by reading Ethics of the Fathers, which left a great impression upon him. Upon their return to Philadelphia, he met the Rebbe of the Natvorna Hasidic dynasty, Rabbi Meir Isaacson, author of the Mevaser Tav Responsa, and at the age of 15 became a Baal Teshuvah. He attended the University of Chicago, majoring in mathematics and philosophy. He then completed a master's in mathematics at the Belfer Graduate School of Science of Yeshiva University. At the age of 20, he abandoned his doctorate studies to devote himself entirely to Torah study. Israel. In 1965, he returned to Israel and studied at the Yeshiva of Kamenetz in Jerusalem. He spent 1966 through 1967 at the Slonim Shul in Tiberias. After the Six-Day War, Ginsburg went to Jerusalem and was one of the first to move into the old Jewish quarter. There, together with his future father-in-law, Rabbi Moshe Zvi Siegel, he began renovating the ruins, sleeping at night in the Tzemach Tzedek synagogue. In the summer of 1967, he went to the Torah Emet Chabad Yeshiva in Jerusalem, where he studied the Chabad School of Chassidus in depth. That year he visited the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and remained in Crown Heights, Brooklyn for several months. There, he was accepted for private audience with the Rebbe, whose guidance became his leading influence. When he returned to Israel, he married Rabbi Segal's daughter, Ramenia. They lived in Jerusalem, where Ginsburg studied with Reb Asher Freund, helping to establish Freund's charity organization, Yad Ezra. He also took part in founding Freund's or Yerushalayim Yeshiva in Jerusalem, where he taught Talmud, Shulchan Aruch, and Chassidut. During this period, a kernel of students developed around him. In 1971, following an instruction from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he moved with his wife and growing family to Kfar Chabad. In 1973, at the beginning of the Yom Kippur War, under instruction from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Ginsburg visited the war front to transmit the Red's blessing to Officer Ariel Sharon, who later became 11th Prime Minister of Israel. The next morning, after a successful battle, Ginsburg presented Sharon with a lulav and etrog. Ginsburg founded the Chabad House in the Yamit settlement in Sinai, where he lived during the last few weeks before the settlement's destruction by the Israeli government in 1982. He returned to Kfar Chabad in 1982, and was asked by Jerusalem rabbi and philanthropist Yosef Eliyahu Deutsch to serve as head of the Shuva Yisrael Yeshiva on Yoel Street. Rabbi Ginsburg gave frequent classes on a wide variety of subjects, from the exoteric to the esoteric parts of the Torah. Many were taped and form a large part of the 15,000 lecture archive of his classes. Ginsburg served as the Rosh Yeshiva of the Ad Yosef Chai Yeshiva, then located at Joseph's Tomb, from 1987 until the retreat of the IDF from the tomb in Nablus during the Al-Aqsa Intifada, 2001. He also served as the head of the Kollel in the Menachem Rachel Synagogue in Hebron and as the head of the Kollel in the ancient Shalom Al-Yisrael Synagogue in Jericho. As of 2014, he served as the president of a number of educational institutes run by his students, including the Torah Chaim Elementary School for Boys, Jerusalem, the Yalachen Elementary School for Girls, Jerusalem, Maya Levin High School for Girls, and the Tom Vadich Yeshiva in Jerusalem. He is also president of the Ad Yosef Chai Yeshiva since its relocation to Yitzhar. In addition, he is the dean of the Torah Kanefesh School of Hasidic Psychology, founded and run by his students. Ginsburg lives with his wife in Kfar Chabad. One of his sons is Rabbi Yossi Ginsburg, the Rosh Yeshiva of Tamshei Temimim Yeshiva in Ramat Aviv. Teachings. Ginsburg follows Hasidic practices in his teaching style and is proficient in many aspects of Hasidic literature. He bases his teachings on Kabbalah and Chassidut and presents them in practical terms, rendering the profound concepts of the original Kabbalistic texts relevant to today's world and presenting them in modern language. Although the media has dealt almost exclusively with his two booklets that address politics, the great majority of his work is of a broader and deeper scope. He has written books on Jewish law, Kabbalah, Torah and science, psychology, love, marriage and education. He has also published a book addressed to children, named Anachi Eladim, Myself and the Children. Ginsburg specializes in analyzing modern cultural phenomena in the light of Kabbalah. These include psychology, psychoanalysis, homeopathy and economics. He has published over 100 volumes of original work in Hebrew and more than 20 in English. Some of his books have been translated into French, Russian, Spanish, and Portuguese. Ginsburg's teachings form a methodical ideology that covers three major areas: the individual, society, and the Jewish national state. He has also developed a social and economical renewal strategy based on Torah teachings, called the Dynamic Corporation. One of his seminars was recognized by the Israeli Ministry of Education as a supplementary teacher's training course. His books are published by the not-for-profit Galine Institute, which he founded in 1991. The Hebrew name Galine is taken from Psalms 119 hours and 18 minutes, meaning open my eyes. He delivers classes in Israel, and has lectured in the United States and other countries including France, Canada, and England. Since December 2012, Ginsburg has been a lead speaker at an annual gala evening commemorating the Hasidic Festival 19 Kislev. The event includes performance of many of his musical compositions. In 2015, the event was held at Culture Palace in Tel Aviv, with an audience of approximately 3,000 people. Ginsburg's style of teaching combines structured thought together with a freer, associative component that manifests in his generous use of the ancient tradition of Gematria, Hebrew numerology, by which he translates between words and numbers. He also implements the use of figure-8 numbers in interpreting Torah verses. Psychology. Ginsburg's contribution to Hasidic psychotherapy has opened up new horizons in therapeutic practice, whose processes are already evident in modern clinical psychology. Ginsburg sees awareness of the divine as the key to successful psychological therapy. He aims to find the balance between science and the Torah, which will allow establishing psychology on the Torah together with empirical analysis of the data in order to develop working theories. Ginsburg's writings on psychology developed the three-stage Hasidic model of submission, separation and sweetening that originated in the study halls of the Baal Shem Tov and his followers. He has thus severed the chain of non-Jewish religious sources upon which all Western schools of psychotherapy are founded. Meditation. Ginsburg does not adopt foreign meditative methods. He remains faithful to the Chabad system of meditation, which consists of Torah study, pre-prayer meditation, and meditation during prayer. His particular innovation is the connection between personal consciousness achieved through meditation, and a change in the collective consciousness. Ginsburg defines two types of meditation: general meditation and detailed meditation. The purpose of general meditation, according to Ginsburg, is to arouse one's natural love and awe of God. In order to arouse love, he recommends meditating on how God vitalizes the individual and the entire world at every single moment of time. Similarly, he recommends meditating on God's omniscience to arouse fear of God in one's heart. According to Ginsburg, three general meditative aids are music, movement, and breathing exercises. Music and art. Ginsburg began composing at a very young age. He has composed hundreds of songs and original melodies in the Hasidic tradition. He has also composed a number of musical compositions in the genre of world music. His music has been published in dozens of discs, which include discs that conserve Hasidic songs and melodies from bygone eras. Rabbi Ginsburg has appeared and sung together with Rabbi Shlomo Karlovac. Russian violin virtuoso Sonia Kreuter has performed renderings of some of Rabbi Ginsburg's compositions, and has played violin accompaniment to Rabbi Ginsburg singing the Hasidic melody Tzam Lechanavshi. Ginsburg's compositions are performed by a number of musicians and singers, including Shuli Rand, Erez Levari, Yosef Kartuner, Yushai Ribo, Aharon Razel, Shlomo Katz, and Daniel Zamir. Israeli musician, Ariel Zilber, performs some of Ginsburg's works. Ginsburg has also co-designed a number of pieces of jewelry based on ancient Kabbalistic ideas, expressing love, peace, and grace. Students. Over the years, Ginsburg has accumulated a large number of students from all over the world. In the 1980s, a group of Balai Teshuva crystallized around him, some of whom were inspired to found the Vadayan settlement in Gush Etzion. Following the death of Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda Kug, another group of students joined him from the Merkaz Harav Yeshiva. They sought to fill the gap left by their rabbi's death by heading for new spiritual horizons in Kabbalah and Chassidut. They founded the original Ad Yosef Chai Yeshiva at Joseph's Tomb, and sought a significant spiritual leader in these spiritual fields to serve as their head. Ginsburg later conceded to their request to join them as their Rosh Yeshiva. In Israel today, there are communities of his students in Jerusalem, Badayan, Yitzhar, Kfar Chabad, and Rechava. His students include Cheredim, religious Zionists, and Chabad Hasidim, as well as Balai Teshuva. Amongst the most notable are religious and political views. Ginsburg advocates the reinstitution of Jewish monarchy in the land of Israel. Some of his own followers want him to be the king. He opposes efforts to remove Jewish settlements from the West Bank and encourages his followers to attempt to dissuade soldiers and police officers from carrying out evacuations. He advocates Jewish labor, the idea that under the current state of affairs in the land of Israel, Jews should employ other Jews. In accordance with Maimonides' ruling and many rabbinical authorities, he believes that taking the current security risks into consideration, Gentiles should not be allowed to live in the land of Israel, unless they become the righteous of the nations. Ginsburg also supports the rebuilding of the Jewish temple, believing that this would facilitate spiritual elevation and hasten redemption. Following a response from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he does not currently advocate visiting the Temple Mount, the site of the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. Ginsburg has repeatedly said that he does not promote violence. His students say that they seek to actualize the messianic vision not by violent revolution, but by a change of consciousness that will take place within individuals and will eventually encompass the collective. In his 2007 book Kabbalah and Meditation for the Nations, Ginsburg writes, "Ours is the first generation in modern times to understand the truly universal human condition and to seek to bring all peoples of the earth together in peace and harmony." In April 2014, after the confiscation of the Ad Yosef Chai Yeshiva complex following assaults by residents on an IDF unit, Gershon Messica, then head of the Sharon Council, visited Rabbi Ginsburg in his home in Kfar Chabad together with a group of rabbis headed by the chief rabbi of the Sharon Eliakim Lebanon. During the visit, Ginsburg expressed his opposition to causing any harm to IDF soldiers. Time to crack the nut. Ginsburg's theocratic worldview is to take control of Israel's state institutions to pave the way for the Messiah's arrival. Ginsburg details his approach in an essay, Time to Crack the Nut. In Hebrew, using Kabbalistic imagery, he compares Israel to a walnut surrounded by 4 shells or klippah, which represent the forces of darkness and impurity. The outermost shell is secular Zionist thought, which may not align with the vision of a religious theocracy. The second shell is the judicial system, the courts, the media, and the education system, which in his view promote negative values, i.e. universal values like liberalism, assimilation, and equality between Jews and Arabs. The third shell comprises government apparatuses, including the Knesset, which are considered dangerous because they allow for compromise and territorial withdrawal. The fourth and innermost shell is the army, which Ginsburg deems necessary with changes such as soldiers ignoring the principle of purity of arms if it contradicts the will of God. According to Ginsburg, the first 3 shells must be crushed by dismantling Zionist secular ideology and overthrowing the government in order to pave the way for a Torah-based rule. This way of thinking is similar to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, except Ginsburg would impose a halakhic-style regime instead of Sharia law.
Damn.
You travel from Garnash to the Shul of Daniel, and that is a distance, Rashi says over here, Shanati, Sha'omim Aleichem, Sha'atem Boim, Garnish, Lebei Knishta de Daniel, Shabbos, Malcolm Hayab Baba, Shisham Hayab Spaba Daniel, Tzib, the Kabin season Levi Loss. So apparently there was a shul that was only the Shul of Daniel. So you have a Chizet telling Mari, I heard.
Purity of arms, Hebrew, Romanized, Tagar HaNesha, is one of the core values listed in the spirit of the Israel Defense Forces. It is described as the following. The IDF servicemen and women will use their weapons and force only for the purpose of their mission, only to the necessary extent, and will maintain their humanity even during combat. IDF soldiers will not use their weapons and force to harm human beings who are not combatants or prisoners of war, and will do all in their power to avoid causing harm to their lives, bodies, dignity, and property.
What did you rely on to travel such a far distance more than the regular Chumash Shabbos? According to did you rely on the presence of huts to extend your toe? Ha'amar Abuah, Ha'amar Abuah, the Abuah, but your father, the father of your father, like your grandfather, he said the name of
Violence against Palestinians. In 1989, following the arrest of 7 of his students after the shooting of an Arab girl during a settler rampage through the Palestinian West Bank village of Kifl Harris, in response to rock throwing by the Arab villagers, Ginsburg reportedly offered biblical justification for the view that the spilling of non-Jewish blood was a lesser offense than the spilling of Jewish blood. He stated that threatening to kill Jews comes under the ruling, "He who comes to kill you, you should kill him first." The Ashkenazi chief Rabbi Avraham Shapira criticized Ginsburg's views. In 1993, Ginsburg defended another student of his guilty of firing indiscriminately at Arab laborers in Tel Aviv. In 1994, Ginsburg received widespread criticism for his article Baruch Hajover, in which he defended Baruch Goldstein, who had massacred 29 Palestinian worshippers at the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron. Rabbi Ginsburg wrote that it is possible to view Baruch Goldstein's act as either following or defying 5 halakhic principles, namely sanctification of God's name, saving life, referring to allegations that Goldstein had received prior warning from the IDF regarding a planned Arab massacre of Jews, revenge, eradication of the seed of Amalek, and more. The conclusion to the article is that Goldstein's act emanated from the super-rational powers of his soul. Therefore, one cannot rely on logical reasoning to determine whether the act was worthy or condemnable. The Jerusalem Post asserted that Ginsburg had called the massacre a mitzvah. Madi Andari commented on this. In his writings, Ginsburg, gives prominence to halakhic and Kabbalistic approaches that emphasize the distinction between Jew and non-Jew, Gentile, imposing a clear separation and hierarchy in this respect. He claims that while the Jews are the chosen people and were created in God's image, the Gentiles do not have this status. Ginsburg stated that, on the theoretical level, if a Jew requires a liver transplant to survive, it would be permissible to seize a Gentile and take their liver forcefully. From this point, only a small further step is required to actively encourage and support the killing of non-Jews, as Ginsburg did in the case of Goldstein. Ginsburg responded to claims that he permits the murder of non-Jews. Never did I advocate taking non-Jewish life, except when tragically forced by war. The Torah forbids this, emphasizing that all human life is sacred. It is our task, as GT's chosen people, to enlighten all humanity and raise the consciousness of mankind to fully recognize the sanctity of all life. When GT deemed it necessary that the Egyptians drown in the Red Sea to save and liberate his chosen people, Israel, he nonetheless forbade his ministering angels to rejoice at the death of the Egyptians, his own creations. The Torah instructs us to emulate his ways of mercy and loving kindness to all. On March 10, 1996, Ginsburg was arrested for administrative detention for 60 days for his pronouncements that the state should take action against Arabs in response to the recent wave of terror attacks. An article in the Jewish Week stated that the detention was an attempt to stifle Rabbi Ginsburg's teaching and lectures to his followers. After an appeal against the detention, on March 28, Ginsburg was released without charge. The judge declared that the accusations were baseless and that Ginsburg was not a danger to the public. Prior to the court ruling, the government had circulated to all its embassies abroad a statement that Ginsburg had a long record of incitement to violence, inflammatory rhetoric, and has developed a theology of revenge whose tenets he spreads wherever he can. Following his release, Ginsburg wrote, "The court recognized that my arrest entailed not only a violation of freedom of speech, but an attack against teaching Torah in general and Hasidic philosophy in particular." In 2003, Ginsburg was indicted on charges of encouraging racism against Arabs in his booklet Tzav Hasha Titel Shoresh, Order of the Day Root Treatment. The charges were dropped after he issued a clarification letter. In 2010, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz called Ginsburg a well-known radical on his views on Israel-Arab public. A former head of the Shin Bet, Carmi Gillen, told the Forward in 2016 that, in his view, words count as incitement and he should have faced charges a long time ago. In 2009, Ginsburg wrote an endorsing introduction to the first volume of the highly controversial book Torah Hamelech. The volume, which endorses the killing of innocent children as a way to take revenge on their parents, and has been condemned by spokespeople for both the conservative and reform movements and the Anti-Defamation League, is said by its authors to have been based on Ginsburg's ideas. In April 2014, Ginsburg called price tag acts of vandalism unsupervised acts, and stated that there is no need to use hands-on tactics. Instead, he suggested achieving goals by power of word alone, speaking out firmly but calmly to transmit the message. The following month, the Shin Bet claimed that the price tag acts were the handiwork of about 100 individuals who were inspired by Ginsburg's ideas. Savisu Ko, self-identified as a prior Hilltop youth, says that it was Rabbi Ginsburg who convinced him to stop his violent activities against Arabs and find more legitimate ways to express his frustration. Ginsburg spoke out very clearly against violence. He said that we should act within the framework of the law. Ginsburg and his students have responded to the accusations made against him by stating that he has been misunderstood and that his words have been taken out of context. The wicked acts of the people of Gaza underscores their Amalek-like features, he wrote in his Nifleo pamphlet a few weeks after the October 7th massacre. These features, he added, demands that we observe the command blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget a total annihilation, not sifting, that is not checking who is innocent and who is guilty. List of works in English. Partial list of works in Hebrew. Discography. References.
Really? Yeah, he's too fucking aggressive. Motherfucker from Cleveland. Is this a motherfucker from Cleveland? Yeah, fuck it. Dog, calm down, dude. You're from St. Louis? Come on, dog. You're from a place called St. Louis.
Literally, again, for every goal, for every goal, for every conclusion, I've seen the end.
Yitzchak Fedish Ginsburg, Hebrew, born November 14, 1944, sometimes referred to as the Malak Lid, the Angel, is an American-born Israeli rabbi affiliated with the Chabad movement. In 1996, Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, born June 1st, 1957, is an American Hasidic rabbi, educator, author, translator, and speaker. He is the founding rabbi of Congregation Ash Kodesh in Woodmere, New York, and former Mashpia Mashtiach Rachani at the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary. Reads, he has recorded more than 5,000 lectures on Hasidic thought and philosophy as well as halakha, Jewish law, and a variety of other topics in Judaism. Early life and education. Early life and education. Early life and education. Early life and education. Early life and education.
Literally, again, it is longer than the earth and the length of the earth, and wider than the width of the sea.
Early life and education. Parents and childhood. Rabbi Weinberger grew up in a modern Orthodox home in Queens, New York. His father, Mordecai Aryeh Yosef Weinberger, March 24, 1923, February 10, 2020, and his mother were both Holocaust survivors from Munkacs and Ungvar who went through the Nazi concentration camps, and his grandparents were Belzer Hasidim. He began studying Hasidic works after his bar mitzvah. Semicha and degrees. Although he originally planned a career in law, he discontinued his law studies to train for the rabbinate, receiving Semicha, ordination as a rabbi, from Reeds, where he was a student of Rabbi David Lifshitz and Rabbi Yoshber Soloveitchik. He also studied for some time at Yeshiva Shor Yashav. He earned master's degrees in Jewish philosophy from the Bernard Revel Graduate School of Jewish Studies at Yeshiva University, and in educational administration from Columbia University Teachers College. Rabbinical positions. Early career. Rabbi Weinberger began his career in the rabbinate as a rabbi at a yeshiva in Far Rockaway. He taught for 2 decades as a rabbi at Ezra Academy, a Jewish day school in Queens, New York, and also served as a Mashgiach Rachani for Enver Zion of Queens. For 1 year, he also taught as a high school rabbi at Yeshiva Shar Hadar in Queens. Congregation Ash Kodesh. In December 1992, Rabbi Weinberger became the first rabbi of Congregation Ash Kodesh in Woodmere, New York. He named the synagogue after Kalonymus Kalman Shapira, the Pisex Narad. The congregation's annual Hillel celebration on the Yahrzeit, death anniversary of Shapir and on Lag BaOmer, the Yahrzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, each draw more than 2,000 attendees. The congregation also hosts multiple events throughout the year such as a Hanukkah Mesiva, party, Sinchas Beis HaShoeva, and Tu B'Shvat. Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, reads. In 2013, Rabbi Weinberger was appointed Mashgiach Rothschild at the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, reads, where he presented weekly classes in Hasidic thought and philosophy, conducted a monthly Farbrengen, joyful gathering, and used to spend Shabbos on campus several times a year. A Mashgiach Rochani, Hebrew, PL, Mashkikim Rochaniim, sometimes Mashgiach for short, is a spiritual supervisor or guide. They are usually a rabbi who has an official position within a yeshiva and is responsible for the non-academic areas of yeshiva students' lives. Description. The position of Mashgiach Rochani arose with the establishment of the modern Lithuanian-style user yeshivas. The prototype of this new type of rabbinical leader and educator was Rabbi Nosson Tzavi Finkel, 1849-1927, known as the elder of the Slobodka Yeshiva, Yeshivas Nesses Yisrael, Slobodka, in Lithuania. The role of the Mashgiach Rochani was strongest in the era before World War II, when often the Mashkikim were responsible for maintaining the yeshiva financially, recruiting and interviewing new students, and hiring staff, something akin to academic deans. After the Holocaust, the influence and position of the Mashgiach decreased, and the roles of the Rosh Yeshivas have grown at the expense of those of the Mashkikim. A modern Mashgiach is somewhat equivalent to the secular counselor position. The need for having Mashkikim within the modern yeshivas was tied in with the rise of the modern user movement, teaching of Jewish ethics, inspired by the 19th century Rabbi Israel Salinger. Some yeshivas may refer to a Mashgiach Rochani as a Menahel Rochani. The word Menahel means principal, as in the principal of a school, or supervisor. Chabad yeshivas have a similar position referred to as mashkia, meaning a person who provides spiritual influence. Famous mashkikim. See also. References.
It turns out that the world is 1/3200 of the size of the world. So it's obviously
in around 2019, Rabbi Weinberger slowly started shifting out of his role at Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, reads, to focus on opening up a kollel, emet hamelech, for training people interested in rabbinical positions which focused on a combination of intense study of halacha as well as a serious focus on Pinimius Hadara and Chassidus, which, due to a variety of factors, never came to fruition. Path in Judaism. Noting that many religious Jews may follow the letter of the law without feeling its inner joy or a personal connection with God, Rabbi Weinberger preaches the basic tenets of Chassidus to rekindle excitement and joy in Jewish observance. He places a strong emphasis on the path of Ahava and not Yir in a person's personal relationship with God. He strongly encourages the learning of Pinimius Hadara and Chassidus for people of all ages, and believes that it is an extremely important component of one developing his relationship with God. He also encourages the path of Hisbodidus, in which a person speaks to God in their own words with path in Judaism. Noting that many religious Jews may follow the letter of the law without feeling its inner joy or a personal connection with God, Rabbi Weinberger preaches the basic tenets of Chassidus to rekindle excitement and joy in Jewish observance. He places a strong emphasis on the path of Ahava and not Yir in a person's personal relationship with God. He strongly encourages the learning of Pinimius Hadara and Chassidus for people of all ages, and believes that it is an extremely important component of one developing his relationship with God. He also encourages the path of Hisbodidus, in which a person speaks to God in their own words with strong feelings outside of the context.
That there were two baskets of figs, prepared before the Heichal Hashem. Hadud ha'echad te'im tovos. One of the baskets contained good figs, tovos mold. Kite'ini habakolos. Like
Hisbodidus or Hisbodidus, Hebrew, lit, seclusion, solitariness, solitude, Tiberian, IV, Ashkenazi Hebrew Hisbodidus, Sephardi Hebrew Hisbodidus, refers to practices of self-secluded Jewish meditation. The term was popularized by Nachman of Breslau, 1772-1810, to refer to an unstructured, spontaneous, and individualized form of prayer and meditation through which one would establish a close, personal relationship with God and ultimately see the divinity inherent in all being. Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, born June 1st, 1950, early parents and childhood. Although he originally planned a career in law, he discontinued rabbinical early Rabbi congregation. In December 1992, Rabbi Weinberger became the congregation. The congregation also Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary reads. In 2013, Rabbi Weinberger was appointed Mashgiach Rochani at the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, reads, where he presented weekly classes in Hasidic thought and philosophy, conducted a monthly Farbrengen, joyful gathering, and used to spend Shabbos on campus several times a year. In around 2019, Rabbi Weinberger slowly started shifting out of his role at Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, reads, to focus on opening up a kollel, emet hamelech, for training people interested in rabbinical positions which focused on a combination of intense study of halacha as well as a serious focus on Pinimius Hadara and Chassidus, which, due to a variety of factors, never came to fruition. Path in Judaism. Noting that many religious Jews may follow the letter of the law without feeling its inner joy or a personal connection with God, Rabbi Weinberger preaches the basic tenets of Chassidus to rekindle excitement and joy in Jewish observance. He places a strong emphasis on the path of Ahava and not Yir in a person's personal relationship with God. He strongly encourages the learning of Pinimius Hadara and Chassidus for people of all ages, and Rabbi Weinberger has been noted as one of this generation's leading teachers of Chassidus. His teachings derive from a wide range of sources across the Hashkafic board of Judaism, including the Baal Shem Tov, Ramchal, Rebbe Nachman of Breslau, Chabad, and Eisbika, Heshisha, as well as from the Vilna Gaon, Rav Tzadok HaKohen, and Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen Kug, among others. He also teaches works that were previously unavailable to the English-speaking public, such as the works of the Bildavi Miskanevne, and others to date. He has recorded over 5,000 lectures on Chassidic thought and philosophy. Positions on controversial matters. Rabbi Weinberger has been involved in some controversies over his years of service as a rabbinical leader, at times disagreeing with some rabbinim in the Litvish and Sephardic Jewish Orthodox community who disagree with his Hashkafic views on certain matters. Pittsburgh Massacre. Background. On October 27, 2018, as religious prayer services were underway in the Conservative Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a lone gunman entered the synagogue and began indiscriminately shooting a semi-automatic rifle, killing 11 worshippers and injuring 7. The attack was clearly recognized as of anti-Semitic nature as shown from his social media posts before the attack and statements to the police after his arrest. In the aftermath, many leaders of the free world issued statements condemning the attacks, with the then United States President Donald J. Trump describing it as pure evil. Many communities, cities, and sports events held vigils, memorial ceremonies and moments of silence in respect to the victims who were killed. Statement from Rabbi Mordecai Adaret. On the day following the attack, Rabbi Mordecai Adaret, of Great Neck, New York, released a video titled State of the Union Address in which he stated that the reason for the terror attack was due to the bris milah of a child adopted by 2 gay parents which was reportedly taking place in the synagogue at that time, reported by the advocate, later stated by the rabbi of the congregation to be false. In his speech he stated that this is the punishment of those who do the sins of the Dor HaMabel and that such is the reason why the Tree of Life Synagogue, whose congregation identifies as conservative and egalitarian, was specifically attacked. Additionally, in his speech he stated that he has Ruach HaKodesh, and that many great rabbis including Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky walked him to the door when he visited them as a proof that he is a great rabbi. Counterstatement from Rabbi Weinberger. Following the release of Rabbi Adaret's video, Rabbi Weinberger recorded a shir in which he strongly condemned Rabbi Adaret's views on the matter, calling him a messenger of the Sibra Akra. In the released recording, he emphasized that regard. Following the release of Rabbi Adaret's video, Rabbi Weinberger recorded a shir in which he strongly condemned Rabbi Adaret's views on the matter, calling him a messenger of the Sibra Akra. In the released recording, he emphasized that regardless of what they were doing at the time of the attack or their affiliation to the conservative movement of Judaism, they Following the release of Rabbi Adaret's video, Rabbi Weinberger recorded a shir in which he strongly condemned Rabbi Adaret's views on the matter, calling him a messenger of the Sibra Akra. In the released recording, he emphasized that regardless of what they were doing at the time of the attack or their affiliation to the conservative movement of Judaism, they were raised as such, captured babies, and did not know any better. He stressed that in the Holocaust there was no differentiation between Jews who openly identified as Jews and those who completely rejected it. They were all killed indiscriminately by the hands of the Nazis. He stated that no rabbi from anywhere in the world has any right to say anything about them or why they were killed, other than the fact that they were Jews, and as such, are termed Kadeshim Lit, holy people. Support of Rabbi Weinberger's position. Following the release of Rabbi Weinberger's condemnation of Rabbi Adaret's position, many Orthodox rabbis and organizations released statements backing Rabbi Weinberger's position on the matter, including works. In the 1980s and 1990s, Rabbi Weinberger wrote articles on issues pertaining to Orthodox practice and Baladi Teshuvah. He was a frequent contributor to Jewish Action, published by the Orthodox Union, and the Journal of Halacha and Contemporary Society, published by the Rabbi Jacob Joseph School. In 1990 he authored the book Jewish Outreach, Halakhic Perspectives, on halakhic issues pertaining to Orthodox Jewish outreach. Since 2011, he has produced 4 volumes of English translation and commentary on the Hebrew Sefer Oros HaTeshuvah by Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen Kug, published under the title Song of Teshuvah. In 2015, a collection of his Torah discourses at the annual Hillel Yahrzeit of the Pesach the Rabbit Congregation Ash Kodesh was published under the title Warmed by the Fire of the Ash Kodesh. Since then, he has also published a collection of his weekly derushes, sermons, under the title Sparks from the Fire. Personal. Spouse. Rabbi Weinberger is married to Rebecca Nicole Weinberger, daughter of Shirley Shaul and Cantor Note Shaul, a noted teacher and composer of Jewish Chassidus. Dress. Rabbi Weinberger wears a full Chassidic levash, including a Rikel and Beaver hat during the week as well as a Bikesh and Shtrimal on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Additionally, he also has a beard and long traditional Hasidic pious.
Literally, new and old. My beloved, I await who I look down for you. I'm looking at this Israel. Let me have a look. This is so beautiful. Finally, so they kind of point out this notion, by the way, you know, we've seen so much in the last couple of decades regarding the immorality.
All right, folks. There are Kabbalists. Wow. All right. We'll get to our fucking. Oh shit. Like what?
where we're going in the future. This night is the night of the Seder.
Dad, what's this? 1 minute. Dad, why is it snowing?
Shut the fuck up, you little shit.
1 minute. Let's make some order. A Seder. Have we got wine?
We have.
Have we got Haggadahs? So let's get on our way.
Vocabulary. We'll do it. Yiddish.
First,
Yiddish
let's
guy.
prepare the Seder plate. On the plate, 3 matzahs, one upon the other, and on top the Seder signs.
Shit.
Kadesh. The Seder night opens with Kiddush. Each of the participants makes their own Kiddush on a cup of wine.
Wait, what did they fucking say?
The Seder night opens with matzahs, one upon the other, and on top the Seder signs. Kadesh. The Seder night opens with Kiddush. Each of the participants makes their own Kiddush on a cup of wine. This is the first cup out of 4 that we will be drinking during the Seder. Urchatz, washing hands without a blessing. We will pour water on each hand 3 times. Karpas, we dip a piece of vegetable, onion, or potato in a bowl with salty water. And eat a little. Yachatz, we take out the middle matzah from the Seder plate and break it in 2 pieces. The larger piece we will keep for the afikomen, wrap it with a bag and hide so we don't accidentally eat it before it's time. Magid.
Dad, can I ask you a question?
Sure. Excellent question. This is exactly why we have a Seder night. To tell our children the story of the redemption from Egypt and becoming a nation. This is how the Jewish people conserved their tradition for the thousands of years.
So, what's the answer?
Let's read out of the Haggadah.
עבדים היינו לפרעה במצרים, ויוציאנו אדוני אלוהינו משם ביד חזקה ובזרוע נטויה. והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, והיא שעמדה עמדים. At the end of the reading of the Haggadah, we will drink another cup of wine. Cup number 2. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Rachtzah, we wash our hands again, just like last time. This time we recite the blessing.
Did you play this right? Yeah, because it's sick as fuck.
At the end of the reading of the Haggadah, we will drink another cup of wine. Cup number 2. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Rachtzah, we wash our hands again, just like last time. This time we recite the
Chabad does
blessing.
it differently.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך
Does
העולם,
it?
אשר קידשנו.
No, that's fine. That is
וציוונו,
Chabad. Chabad.
הנטילת ידיים.
Ashkenazi do it differently.
We hold the Seder plate and recite.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
And an additional blessing.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצותיו וציוונו על אכילת מצה.
Eating the matzah is the important commandment of the Seder. In order to fulfill the commandment fully, at least a third of a matzah must be eaten within 4 minutes. Also, we need to lean to our left while eating.
Like a king.
This comfortable seating reminds us of the freedom we received this night when we left Egypt. Maror, in memory of the bitterness.
Yeah, I like that shit.
This comfortable seating reminds us of the freedom we received this night when we left Egypt. Maror, in memory of the bitterness our forefathers experienced, we take a bitter vegetable, lettuce leaves or horseradish,
Love it.
dip it slightly in charoset, and bless.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצותיו וציוונו על אכילת מרור.
And eat.
I like a little sandwich.
Korech, we take the lower matzah and the Seder plate, maror, and a little charoset, make a sandwich and
That's
say.
right.
So did Hillel in the time that the Holy Temple was built. He would bond Pesach, matzah, and maror, and eat them together. As it says, upon matzah and maror, it shall be eaten.
Don't forget to lean while eating. Shulchan Orech. Now it is time for the festive meal. Enjoy. Safun. The meal is ended with the afikomen, the piece of matzah we hit earlier. We shall eat the afikomen while leaning to our left. Barech. We pour the third cup of wine and recite the blessing over food out of the Haggadah. At the end of the blessing, we drink the cup. I want you to open the door. We have a special guest. For the prophet Eliyahu, herald of the redemption, we poured a cup of wine in his honor and also opened the door for him. So when he comes, we will not delay even for a moment.
What do you do with
He will
wine?
be fully
We can do
redeemed.
whatever the fuck you want with the kids.
Hallel, the fourth and last cup is poured, and chapters of praise to the Almighty are said from the Haggadah. In the end, we will of course drink the fourth cup. Nirtzah. The wonderful Seder we have conducted is surely desirable to the Almighty, and now is the time to ask for the most important thing. Next year in Jerusalem, kosher and happy Passover.
Well, that was a tight story, dog. I miss Abby. I miss that hot chick's hands. Why do you think her hands are so great? I don't know. Alright, are you done? Alright, we gotta fucking do 2 more things. Alright, folks, let's roll. I'm high, something so good that it could raise the dead. Alibi, if only. Yiddish head, Jewish head, Yentas, kind of a fetish of mine. It's chocolate, bitch, chocolate, brass tacks, nosh, munching on pussy, snacking on pussy, but shirt, soulmate, Bashirta, female soulmate, Bashirta, male soulmate, mishmash, I was taking a bath, mixture, bupkiss, nothing, bupkisses, beans, good yontif, good holiday, kind to life, park, neutral, glad kosher, smooth, mensch, good dude. Seducus Froy, eat a shot, chayo, gittle, skoyak, that's Yasher Koach, that's from strength. May your strength be directed forward, which got to be Yasher Koach, which got to be skoyak. Oy vey, like, oh shit. Stettel, that's Stettel, that's a town. Scheidel, that's a Shadel, that's a fucking wig. Strimel, that's a hat. Milchig, that's dairy. Fleischig, meat. Par, neutral. Heimish or Hamish, that's homely, homie's ugly as fuck. Schmata, that's brag. Schwiger, mother-in-law. Chazer, that's a pig. No, that's to repeat. Chazir is pig. Schlep, burden, carry a burden. Meshuggah, that's wild shit. Ganif. Ganif is Hebrew and Yiddish for thief. It has come to refer to anyone who is a swindler, a cheat, or just plain dishonest. In Yiddish parlance, a theft is called a ganiva, a loanword from Hebrew, but the act of stealing is ganva, a formulation that imposes Germanic syntax onto the original Hebrew word. The original Hebrew word with the root gnv, pronounced ganav, appears numerous times in the Bible. Like a thief in the night, baby. In the 10 pronouncements. Wow, they use commandments. Okay. The eighth of the Ten Commandments is lo tignov. Do not steal. Look carefully, and you'll see that tignov and ganav have the same root letters. The ganav, in this case, is not someone who steals necklaces or bagels, but a kidnapper who steals fellow human beings. We know this because the word is listed in a string of capital offenses. And elsewhere in the Bible, we learn that a petty thief needs to pay for what he took, plus a fine, to but is not put to death. So, what is the law of the thief? The ganef and the gazlan. In Torah, there are two classes of thieves. There is the gazlan, a brazen strong man who takes what is not his, not caring who sees. The law is that he must pay back whatever he takes. Then there's the ganef, the stealthy thief. If he is caught, but like that fucking Pinto, if he is caught, but not if he turns himself in willingly, he must pay double what he took, or even more in the case of a thief who sells or slaughters the sheep or ox that he steals. Why the difference? The Gazlan is a pretty evil guy, fearing neither Hashem nor man. He chooses to break the law and let the chips fall where they may. But the Ganef is afraid of humans, which is why he operates on the sly. However, he has no compunctions about being observed by Hashem, essentially denying the existence of divine justice. In the words of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, may Hashem grant you fear. May Hashem grant you that. May Hashem grant that you fear. May Hashem grant that you fear Hashem as much as you fear flesh and blood. Stealing hearts and minds. I steal hearts, baby. But I will call someone who fools others, even if they're not actually stealing their property, a ganef of the heart. A classic example would be Absalom, who is a pretender to the throne of his father, King David, stole the hearts of the men of Israel. Note that in the biblical Hebrew, lev, which means heart, refers to consciousness as a whole. In Jewish law, there are specific guidelines about genivat, theft of mind. A typical example is inviting someone for a meal when you know they are already engaged at the time. You are scoring points, appearing generous and friendly, but knowing that it will cost you nothing. The same would apply if you opened a bottle of wine when a guest was over and gave them the impression that you did so in their honor when you were planning to open the bottle in any case. A more nefarious application of the same principle involves sellers intentionally dressing up their wares to appear better than they are. For instance, giving an old, worn tool a new paint job, or selling real estate whose ownership is disputed. The hole and the mouse. A final bit of Talmudic wisdom. It is not the mouse who is the ganef, but the hole that is the ganef. If you want to make sure if you want to make sure that you stay away if you want to make sure that you stay far away from all forms of Geneva, even the most subtle ones, it is a good idea to set up your life for the most upstanding way possible, leaving no holes that need to be plugged up. Oh, tight story. Yeah, what's that one thing that we do? This is how we do. Yo, dog. No one really knows for sure. Elu ve, Elu divrei, Elohim chayim. But this is the more. But this is the Mazor we live by. Do whatever you want to do, baby. All right. So what do we do? Um, we're gonna roll through this because Rabbi is ready to move on. Yo, how do we as Orthodox Jews deal with the death of non-Jews? What happens to them? Like, obviously, we don't say Kaddish, but like, what happens? Good question. Let's break it down clearly and straight hushkafically Jewish worldview wise. First, what do we believe happens to non-Jews after death? Second, how do Orthodox Jews respond practically when a non-Jew dies? What happens to non-Jews after death? Mainstream Orthodox Judaism does not teach that non-Jews are automatically lost or punished. That's somebody else's thing, not a Jewish one. The key concept is the righteous of the nations, Gemara in Talmud Sanhedrin 105 105a says, Chaste umot ha'olam yesh lahem chelik ba'olam. How about the righteous of the nations of the world have a share? And the will come. The Rambam codifies this in Mishnah Torah Hilchot Melachim 8:11. If a non-Jew keeps the Shiva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, 7 Noahide laws, basic moral laws like not murdering, not stealing, not committing sexual immorality, etc., they are considered righteous and have a share in Olam Haba, the world to come. Judaism does not require them to convert. Do they have a soul? Yes, a non-Jew has a nefesh, life, soul. Kabbalah, mysticism sometimes distinguishes between types of souls, but that does not mean non-Jews lack spirituality or divine connection. In Hasidic thought, including teachings of Chabad Lubavitch, there is an emphasis that every human is created b'tselem Elohim in the image of God. Judgment applies to all humanity. A righteous non-Jew is judged by what they were commanded, not by 613 mitzvot. They are not judged for keeping Shabbat or Kashrut because they were never commanded in those. Practically, what do Orthodox Jews do when non-Jews are right? We do not say Kaddish mourners prayer for a non-Jew. Kaddish is a sanctification prayer tied to Jewish communal structure, but that does not mean indifference. If it's a neighbor, friend, public figure who express condolences, we can say Baruch Dayan Ha'amet. Blessed is the true job quietly to ourselves if death impacts us. We can pray privately that Hashem judge them with mercy. If it's a righteous Jew, some authorities allow saying Tehillim psalms on their behalf. Acts of kindness in their memory are appropriate. But we do not believe Orthodox Judaism does not teach that non-Jews automatically go to a bad place. They are spiritually worthless. That conversion is required for salvation. That's not Jewish theology. What about Gehinnom? Gehinnom, Jewish purification state, is not an eternal damnation. It is generally understood as temporary, often up to 12 months. That concept applies broadly to humanity, not just Jews. Big picture. Judaism is covenantal, not universalist. Jews have 613 mitzvot, non-Jews have 7. Different responsibilities, same creator, same justice system, same moral accountability. So someone who is non-Jewish and just died, they're in Gehenna, right? And is it for 11 or 12 months? And then where do they go? Where do they go if they were righteous? Where do they go if they weren't righteous? Okay, let's talk about this quickly. First thing, Judaism does not teach that every non-Jew automatically goes to Gehenna, purgatory, spiritual realm. Judaism also does not teach every Jew automatically skips it. Judgment is individual. Do non-Jews go to Gehenna? Possibly, if they need purification. Gehenna in Judaism is not a bad place. It is more like a spiritual cleansing process after death. Chazal, our sages, teach in the Talmud, Idiot 210, that the judgment of the wicked in Gehenna is up to 12 months. The idea is applied broadly to humanity, not just Jews. 11 or 12 months. For Jews, we say Kaddish for 11 months, not 12, because 12 months implies the person was fully wicked, and we don't assume that about our loved ones. But that 11th month practice is not about Jewish mourning practices. It does not define how long a non-Jewish judge. The 12 months is a general maximum framework described by Chazal. Where do righteous non-Jews go? If a non-Jew was righteous, kept the 7 Noahide laws, lived morally, recognized God appropriately, then they have a share in Olam Haba, in the world to come. This is stated explicitly in the Talmud, Sanhedrin 105a. The righteous of the nations have a share in the world to come. The Rambam codifies this in Mishnah Torah, Hilchot Melachim 8:11. So if righteous, they go to Olam Haba. What is Olam Haba? There are two major models in Jewish thought. Model A, Rambam, Olam Haba, a disembodied spiritual existence after purification. Model B, Ramban, Kabbalah. Eventually there will be a resurrection of the dead. Tekiat Ha-Mitim, a perfected world. Souls reunited with bodies in a refined state. Either way, righteous non-Jews participate. What if they were not righteous? Now it gets more nuanced. Judaism does not describe eternal damnation for most people. Gehinnom is generally coercive, not eternal. However, some extreme evil, mass murder, deliberate corruption, etc., can lead to what Chazal called karet, spiritual excision, no share in olam haba. But that category is rare and severe. Most people, purification, elevation, eventual spiritual state appropriate to their level. Do non-Jews need to keep the seven laws consciously? This is a famous debate. The Rambam says that a non-Jew must keep the Noahide laws because they were commanded by God through Moshe to be considered among the righteous of the nations. Other Rishonim, early authorities, are more inclusive and say basic moral monotheism suffices. So that's a note. What about Hasidic Kabbalah? In teachings like the Tanya, in teachings like those in Tanya, there's discussion about differences in soul structure between Jews and non-Jews. That does not mean non-Jews lack afterlife. It means their spiritual mission differs. Chabad teaches strongly. Chabad teaches. Chabad teachings strongly affirm that righteous non-Jews have eternal reward. So let's answer you directly. Non-Jew dies if righteous, possibly brief purification if needed. Olam haba, ultimate participation in the perfected future world. If morally corrupt, Gehinnom, up to 12 months, typically either elevation after purification or in extreme cases spiritual loss exclusion. But Judaism does not map this with the rigid other stuff. So like somebody who is like really bad and they've been excised, where do they go? What's it called? Excommunicated. Okay. Excised. Because you said exercise doesn't no. Okay, if someone was excommunicated, cherem is so no, that's what I meant. A person could be cherem and still repent after death. They're just like anyone else, no special automatic destination. If someone was really wicked, what happens? Chazal describes several possible outcomes. The main categories appear in Talmud, especially Rosh Hashanah 16b to 17a. Category A, regular wicked person. Most people, even bad ones, go to Gehinnom, purgative spiritual realm, no eternal stuff. Usually after 12 months cleansing process, the elevation to some level olam haba. This applies to Jews and non-Jews. Category B, extremely wicked. Uh, there is a more severe category mentioned. Ein lahem chalek lo olam haba. They have no share in the world to come. The Rambam lists examples in Mishnah Torah Hilchot Teshuva chapter 3. This includes deliberate heresy, those who cause the public to sin, extreme cruelty and rebellion. For those people, Chazal sometimes describe long punishment. Nidunim Lodore, judge for generations, or what is called karet, spiritual excision. What is karet? Karet literally means cut off. In earthly terms, in the Torah, it can mean early death, childlessness. In spiritual terms, the soul is cut off from its source, no share in olam haba. This is not eternal torture. It is more like spiritual extinction or severe diminishment. Different Rishonim debate what that means exactly. Is there eternal damnation in Judaism? For almost everyone, no. Chazal say the wicked of Israel are punished in Gehenna and eventually emerge. Only the absolute worst cases are described as permanently excluded. And even then, some Kabbalistic sources soften it and speak of eventual rectification over cosmic time. I like that. For a non-Jew who is extremely evil if they violated basic morality, murder, cruelty, corruption, etc. Possibilities described in traditional sources. Gehenna, extended purification and loss of olam haba, spiritual excision, but Judaism does not give graphic, detailed maps or eternal torture realms. It emphasizes divine judgment, divine mercy, proportional judgment. Bottom line, if someone is really bad, most likely Gehenna, purification, and extremely evil, possibly carried spiritual cutting up, only in rare cases described as permanently excluded from olam haba. Okay, that's cool. Peace. You're fine. Go fuck yourself. Shout out to Papa. Rook Diane Hamet. Rook Diane Hamet.